I spoke with Hans Blix, the former head of the UN Weapons Inspection Team in Iraq and the current chairman of the Weapons of Mass Destruction Commission. I asked him if he believes the US has tangible evidence of an Iranian nuclear weapons program and if he accepts Washington's assertions that Iran poses a nuclear threat.
No, I don't think they have tangible evidence, and I'm not sure that they would want to have any evidence to the contrary, because recently Mr. El-Baradei made an agreement with Iran about trying to clear up some question marks before the end of this year, and it was clear that Washington and several other capitals were irritated by that. If any question marks were erased, that would undermine somewhat the case for sanctions. But I don't think they have found anything which directly implicates a will on the part of Iran to have nuclear weapons. And of course they deny that's their intention. They simply say we only want to have enrichment uranium, and it's true that the Non-Proliferation Treaty does not prohibit states from enriching uranium for purposes of making fuel.
So as you say, under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, Iran has the right to enrich uranium, so why should they forfeit that right? And if so, what should they be offered in return?
Well, the point is that if they have an industrial scale capability to enrich uranium, they could change their mind one day. They could say that, okay, now it's dangerous and we will begin also to make nuclear bombs. So I think it is desirable that one dissuade Iran from going for enrichment, but then one has to carry out a proper negotiation with them. And I don't think that when the Western states, and indeed the Security Council says that Iran must suspend its enrichment and thereafter they can talk, I don't think that's a sound way to go about it, because the suspension of enrichment is the key problem. So I think one should go into talks with Iran without any preconditions.
You headed UNMAVIC, the organization that was set up by the UN Security Council to search for weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. None of those weapons were found, but the US still went to war, denying you the time you had requested to complete your task. How concerned are you that history may be repeating itself and there may be yet another rush to judgment in the case of Iran?
I think that the U.S. public opinion is so tired of military adventures that I really doubt that it would happen. But certainly the risk is not non-existent. It is there. And what they have done in way of accusations against Iran, of course, reminds us a little about the Iraqi affair. They talk about Iranian bombs having been given to the Iraqis, and they have taken some people, Iranians, prisoners. And they say that the Iranians are supporting various guerrilla groups in militias in Iraq. I cannot judge that evidence. I'm generally skeptical about the evidence after my experience in UNMAVIC, and would like to see evidence clearly on the table. Just accusations do not really amount to that much.
The US president just recently spoke about the danger that an Iran with the knowledge to develop nuclear weapons could pose, and that it could lead to World War III. Is the US president and the administration changing the goalposts? We're now talking about the mere knowledge being a threat?
I think mentioning of the word of World War III is hyping the issue. We also heard the US president earlier talk about 9/11 being the Pearl Harbor of the Third World War. I think in Europe one would certainly not think in those terms. And when the French foreign minister mentioned preparation for war in order to stave off a conflict in the Middle East, I think there was a lot of reaction that let's talk about negotiations now, and don't let us wave the sticks in the air like this.
Were Iran to join the list of nuclear weapon states, including India, Pakistan, Israel, how much of a threat would it be to international peace and security?
The Iranians are the first to say that they don't want to have nuclear weapons. But clearly, if they were to have it, then, as I understand it, it would neutralize the Israeli nuclear stock. Israelis are generally assumed to have some 200 nuclear weapons, and if Iran were to have nuclear weapons, then the Israeli force would not be effective. It would be neutralized. So it would affect the balance of power in the Middle East very much. But that's very hypothetical. It's a long run, and I think today one should talk constructively about what can one do to dissuade Iran from going for enrichment. They can have the fuel they want for their nuclear reactors, and I think they should have the guarantees that they will be left alone.
And considering the chaos that we see today in Iraq, would the world be better off with an Iran with a nuclear capability, or, as the French and the American president have suggested, a preemptive strike that would make sure that they do not develop nuclear weapons?
No, I think a preemptive strike would be disastrous. we have seen what has happened in Iraq. And what we need to see is not only that Iran stay away from nuclear weapons, but also that the nuclear weapon states walk away from it. The only one that's walked away from nuclear weapons is South Africa. But we would like to see the US take the initiative to an exit from the nuclear weapons era.